Samsung also updated the Galaxy A3. On the left, the 2017 model, on the right, the predecessor from last year's, from 2016. And in this video, I will show you the differences, what has changed from last year, and of course, first battery test results and processor performance results. So in this video, you'll get a first impression. Let's start with the design, because I couldn't show you on the A5, but here both models are black. And here you can better see what I meant. Both are glossy on the backside, but the predecessor a little bit looked like glass. This is a bit more matte. And the consequence of that is if you tap on the backside here, I hope you will be able to see in the video. I'm trying to get it into the right angle there, I guess, like that. Here you see some fingerprints, and on the left you see definitely less fingerprints. Let me call it like that. So it's a right step in the right direction, I guess. You also have these a little bit more curved edges here. That was more edgy on the predecessor. And you see that silver metal frame once around, that's now black here. So you don't see it from the front, a little bit silver frame here. This is black now. So a little bit more like a little bit more compact, a little bit more, handy, but just from the looks, not from the haptics. They are really almost the same, because you have 66 millimeters, 1 millimeter more, 135 millimeters once again, and a thickness of 7.4 instead of 7.8 here. So a little bit bigger, but you do not feel that, especially the weight, 134 instead of 132. You need scales to recognize that. So it feels the same if I'm grabbing it in the palm. It looks a little bit different, but it feels almost the same. And like on the A5, the big one, the display didn't change at all. So it's exactly the same. We're talking about 4.7 inches, 120 millimeters, and once more, 720 by 1280 pixels. So you have the same density, same sharpness of 310 ppi, or 149 pixels per square millimeter. That's 44% below the average. So really no good result. But on the other hand, you can see that you can read nevertheless perfectly all these text here. And it's absolutely okay. But in case you are having that, say, okay, watching a lot of YouTube videos, let's say in Full HD, I want to see them naturally, then okay, but most don't need it, especially because the quality is great, because you have Super AMOLED once more, meaning you have these extremely high viewing angle stability, high contrast LCDs just can dream of. And by the way, also that USB Type-C now here instead of Type-B, the predecessor. So for me, I find it absolutely okay. But of course, there's a special target group with 4.7 inch and this resolution. So there must be a difference also for the prices. Coming to cameras, on the front, not so a big step ahead from 5 to 8 megapixels. Still that aperture of f1.9, so a good one, getting a lot of light, like on the back side also here, both. And here the resolution is the same, 13 megapixels videos, both on the front and on the back side, on both versions in Full HD. So there has not changed much, but on the other hand, you know, there are a lot of components playing a part from the photo quality. So there might be nevertheless a change. We have to see that in the final review. That's coming as text, like always, on my website mobiwatch.net as soon as possible. So that's the first impression here. We have to see what's happening to the video and photo quality. Coming to the processors, you feel it if you have, for example, apps like games where you really need that horsepower. Then you will see that this one here is an Exynos 7870 instead of 7578, meaning we have from 4 now 8 cores, still clocked at 1.6 gigahertz, but you have the Mali T830, 1 core, instead of the last year's Mali T720, 2 cores, but 2 gigahertz of RAM, 1.5. So once more, overall ranking from more than 50 values I'm gathering. Here the predecessor at the moment is 38% below the average. And the new one, the 2017 model, is 19% below. Sorry. I would have liked to say above. So you have a little advantage of 19 percentage points here from 38 to 90% below, but it's still not so good. For comparison, the new A5 is 6% above at least. So that's a bit better for those who have these, for example, players, gamers. So this one is not that target group, I guess. Let's come to the radius. There we have now 4G with 300 instead of 150 megabits per second nominally. And especially you have now Wi-Fi N 5 gigahertz, and with that Wi-Fi AC current standard. This was both not the case here on the predecessor. And you now have Bluetooth 4.2 instead of 4.1 like on the A5. And especially well, that's of course mechanical button and fingerprint reader, but especially IP68. Like on the big A5, it's now protected against dust and water, officially 1.5 meters, 13 minutes. But in practice, in everyday life, means if it drops in the water and you grab it, you will have good chance that this one will survive, at least better chances than with the predecessor. So coming with that to the final and most important, I guess, for most of you result, battery runtime. It's fixed, it's built in like always, unfortunately, these days with these phones here. And it has 2350 instead of 2300 milliamps. Just 50 milliamps more, so I didn't expect way more. But let's come to the results. For reminding you, this one has had 608 minutes. In the current average, that's 20% above, so already a good result. And here the new one is 686 minutes. That's 35% above. 20% above, 35% above. So compared both, it's 13% longer runtime, and with 35% above the average, I guess at least regular users and I guess most of the heavy users will come through the day without having to refueling here. So this is, you have better chances to come through the day, but it's not that big step. And that's the problem, I guess, because yeah, well, you have a little bit better runtime, a little bit better processor, but still not so good. And especially you still have 16 gigabyte internal memory. Yeah, that's the most important thing I do not appreciate because, yeah, well, from the net 9.2 to 7.5, this is a reduction in net. As you can see here, you have 16 gigabyte. Do not go for that one because, of course, I installed now some apps and test data and files and whatever, but it was 7.5 net when coming out of the box and updating all pre-installed apps and the operating system Android 6.01. So that's a thing, I guess, especially if you watch the price. This is like the predecessor, 329 euro, including tax, Germany, Europe. Like always, it may depend on your country, but this is now dropped after 1 year to 199 euros. So that's a huge difference, and you do not have that big advantage here, except IP68 and Wi-Fi AC. So you have to decide for yourself if this is worth the difference in price. But yeah, well, I'm not so sure if this one will find so much buyers because I find it too expensive for this 16, especially net 7.5 gigahertz. That's too less internal memory. You can expand, of course. You have that slot here for nano SIM and micro SD officially up to 256 gigabyte now instead of 128, sorry, so doubled officially, but nevertheless, I find it too less internal for that price. So nevertheless, we'll see in the final review if there are more advantages I haven't seen yet here on the first review, and especially concerning the quality of the photos and the videos. This is the first impression here. I hope this is enough for you from the Samsung Galaxy A3 2017 compared to the predecessor. Thanks for watching this video, and please be so kind to rate this video, and maybe you even leave a sub and your opinion in the comments. Thanks for that in advance. Take care and bye.